Do you ever wonder who's covering your work when you're not there? Well, this is a problem a lot of business owners are having, and they don't even realize it's actually something that is killing their revenue. Most people don't have a 24/7 business. Maybe you're 9 to 6 or 8 to 5 or something like that. And you're thinking about your business all the time then. But you also do go home. And when you go home, guess what? You're still thinking about your business. And it feels like you are working your business 24/7, at least 16, 18 hours a day. But the problem is you've actually left a huge vacancy in your business. And this is what we call the ghost shift. A lot of people don't realize this is actually much more significant than they think. And it is one of the big reasons why you're not generating enough profit because you actually have a blind spot, right? A total scotoma to the fact that an entire shift is missing out of your business. And if you are running a business and you're thinking, I'm working so hard, but I'm not seeing enough profit, I'm going to show you a solution to how you can fix this. And we're going to go ahead and get started because this is a fun episode today on Iconic TV. Remember, we are here live every Tuesday from 2 p.m. for about 20-30 minutes and Pacific time. So just go ahead and subscribe if you can't be here live, and then we'll get these out to you every single week that we come here. And what we're doing here is showing you how you can actually grow and scale your business without having to do all the work and have it run intelligently. And we will show you exactly how to build in an intelligent workforce into your business, not duct taping anything, but actually building a real business that you can actually be proud of and still walk away from so that you're not responsible for doing everything. Too many business owners right now are handling everything, and maybe you can't find the right people, even though there's a flood of people hitting the market, but maybe you're not finding the right people. And so then you figure you have to do it yourself. That is not what a smart CEO should be doing. And we're going to show you how you can fill these gaps in your business without you having to do it yourself and draining not only your bank account, but just your energy level, because that's a real problem as well. So one of the things we're going to look at is this ghost shift. I just want to give you an overview of what we're going to cover. And so when you look at the ghost shift, this is what we're talking about. There's an invisible burden that's coming up. And you might think about when your business is open from 9 to 5, but what happens after that? What happens in the 5 to 9 shift and in the overnight hours? Where are you missing things? And how do you fill those? What do you do when nobody's assigned? What do you do if you don't have anybody? And then how can you recover 20 hours a week or more in your business if you are able to cover this? And this is what we're going to talk about. I'm going to give you an example of a business that had a big problem with this and how we solved it, because this is more common than you think. And this example might give you some ideas on what you can do to fix this in your business. And as we're going along, I want you to know that we do have a gift for you, actually, so that you can actually find out, where is my ghost shift? Where am I missing something that I should be filling, right? And so this is the part that you want to pay attention to as we go along, because the problem is you have a night shift. It just isn't staffed, and it shouldn't be staffed by you. So your business does run 24/7. I know it runs 24/7 in here, but it's also running around the clock in reality, right? And so there's 3 phases where this comes up. And think about it for your business. Where are you seeing this in your business as well? So, we break this down to like the 11 o'clock hour. What happens then? There's a reply sent, because waiting till the morning is like losing the lead. And you're just like, okay, I'm going to get something out. I just got to do something late at night. Okay. And then what happens? You come in at 6 a.m., then there's the inbox. It kind of sits untouched because, you might have a buyer that's ready to go, but somebody else answered it before you did. So there's another miss. And the third one is the repair, right? This could happen on a weekend. Somebody needs something, they need a fix. Something broke on Friday. They can't figure out how to make something work, or they have an emergency need or a quick call where they need your assistance. We see this a lot with our attorney clients, and somebody needs something off hours. But you know what? Maybe they got impatient and they tried to take things under their own advisement and it didn't work. So, do you see how these are three different areas where your business could be breaking? It's running there, but nobody's actually running the show. And that's the dangerous part. These things are happening all the time, but who do you want to handle this, right? And when you think about it, when you think about that night shift, that supervised shift, you don't really put the brightest bulb in your company there and make them work that. You don't find the best in the world to work those shifts, right? And so when you really need good quality attention for your customers, you're probably giving them less than they deserve. And if you think about it, that can be a huge revenue leak for you. So when you figure it out, right, there's a shift that you're staffing, and then there's a shift that you're not staffing. And so 2/3 of that is vacant. And it's not with your top A players in the game. So, what if you could bring in top A players? What if you could bring in people that didn't sleep, that didn't need the break, that didn't need all the accolades, that weren't worried about their emotional life and their social life, but they were actually showing up on point every single shift? That is what your AI workforce will do. And so this is what we do: is we design a workforce for these shifts that you haven't been able to fill. And what's going to happen is they're going to be probably your smartest ones. It's an agentic, intelligent team, and everybody has one role. Right? Here's one of the mistakes that a lot of people make when they're trying to figure out, how do I bring in AI into my business? They're going, oh, I use this platform. I use ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity or Manus or whatever it is that you use. And then you say, hey, I'm going to tell you what to do, and you're going to do it. Can you imagine having to walk through an entire shift with somebody on the overnight, the night auditor, so to speak, and having to tell them, you got to do this, and you got to do this, and you got to do this. And then they'll say, okay, how do you like this? Do you want me also do this? Do you want me also do this? Do you want me also do this? You notice that what that sounds like? That's what happens when a lot of people use their AI. Is like, okay, you put in stuff and they say, okay, here's this. Now what's this? And it's this constant back and forth and back and forth. It's like a ping pong game, right? And you never get to step away. That's not managing a team, right? You need a team that actually is goal oriented. You set the goal. This is how we design AI for businesses. We set the goal. What is the goal the company needs? And then we let each AI have their specific role. Everyone has their singular focus and function. And then it's like a relay race. First we do this, then we do this, then we do this. And then when they finish their assignment, they pass it to the next, to the next, to the next, until the goal is reached. And while you're sleeping, the overseer, we call her Kira. Kira is going to be the orchestrator and manage all of that. And then we set it up and design it so that when they need approval, right, everybody has governance. So we're not going to let them run crazy when you're not there at night. They all have a governance. They all know what boundaries they can work in, and they stay in those boundaries. When have you ever had an employee who stayed within the boundaries? No, especially when you're not there. So now imagine how that would work. And you don't have to set anything up. You don't have to say, do this, let me see this, do this, let me see this. That's not functional. And that's micromanagement. The last thing you want to do is micromanage an AI workforce. chances are they're probably a little smarter than you in many areas. Not that we want to admit it. So where do you focus then? You've got the part where you're there, but why do you have to focus on the part where you're not there? This is where people are thinking that, oh, I need to have all the control in my business. No, you don't need all the control. Okay. You just need to know where you're leaking profits. And so this is why we designed this. We designed the revenue leak detector. It's a short 2-minute quiz that you should take. Why should you take it? Because you are not aware of all the places that you can be leaking money, right? You could have sales, operations, marketing. You can have your IT department. You can have the HR and the hiring. There's so many areas that all follow under your umbrella, and you can't manage it all. This is like spinning plates. It doesn't work. So what you do need to know is, where are the leaks? Because you can't watch everything, just like we were talking about last week. If you didn't see it, go look for last week's talk. We're talking about, racing a car. Since I used to own a racing company, the driver is focused on the drive, and the spotters and the crew chief are focused on all the other elements. But the driver can't focus on all parts of the track, can only focus on what's right in front of them. That's what you need to be. And when you take this quiz, you will actually see what's right in front of you that you might not even see that is leaking a ton of money. Okay. So a lot of the old assumptions that you might have had really don't hold true anymore. And, the business runs from 9 to 5, and sometimes you go a little over. That's not true, right? There's people needing things worldwide 24/7. And the proof is failed, right? So you've got leads and questions and breakdowns that always come in. And the business just wasn't organized, if that's true, right? You have to understand there's a cost of staying there. And as a founder, you're absorbing the gap at the worst hour, the lowest quality, and you're doing it for free. So this isn't, the way it should be working. So uncounted hours, they don't disappear. They just show up later. And they show up as an expense on your time and on your energy. And you want to figure out, how do I get the most of my time and the most of my profit? That is your role as a CEO. You are in business to make a profit, not to spend all your time doing everything. And how do you find the leaks? This is what we're talking about. A lot of people don't even know what categories there are. And there's 4 to 7 key areas that you should be aware of, that you can say, there's a leak, there's a leak, there's a leak. Now, finding the leak is one thing. The problem is, why do I have the leak in the first place? And so this is what you want to think of. Why is this happening? Okay. And you don't want to cut this role just because you don't have anybody there. You don't want to cut it. You actually need to fill it, and you need to fill it in a smarter way than you've been doing before. So what does that mean? That means your AI workforce is not about replacing a job that already exists. That's the mindset of the old way. Okay. You're not trying to cut somebody's role out. What you're trying to do is architect a brilliant team behind you, right? And most founders, right, they never filled or did the night shift, right? So what we need to do is fill the vacancy, not the layoff. Most people are getting this wrong. They're trying to figure out, how do we, handle the layoff? Forget the layoff. How do you handle the gap? This is why you want to take the quiz. And this will show you exactly where that gap is. Think of it like a night auditor. When you go, I just got back from Florida and it was beautiful. But when you go to the hotel and then we, arrive real late, then you've got the night person working there. It's a whole different staff than how they greet you in the day. But that's what they do. And they're there at 3 a.m. They're running, numbers. But when you're in your business, it's the same thing. The problem is you just haven't staffed it. And if you start thinking like a hotel, like a 24/7 business, you'll start to understand that you are so playing a small game. You're only filling a third of what your capacity is. And if you can start staffing that capacity with an AI workforce, it completely changes the game. The problem is people don't know how, right? And the problem is the people that are saying they know how actually have a tool, but they don't have the knowledge of how to actually staff that. And so, here's an example that we had with a client who was actually a designer, and he was very famous for different designs he did in multiple industries. And he had a product that he created, and then he sold it on Amazon and was doing very well. So he was doing about $300,000-$400,000 just with this one product. He had multiple products, 5 or 6 different products. This one was doing around $300,000-$400,000 a year. And then he started noticing his sales going down and down and down. Why? Several things were happening. The fulfillment was off. Amazon didn't have the right amount of fulfillment. Then he'd always have to buy more product because it said there was no inventory left. So he was spending all of his money on inventory when there wasn't actually an inventory problem. And then another problem that was happening was when people would buy, they would buy it, and then it would say, it's going to be a couple weeks because there's no inventory. So there was a disconnect between Amazon and him, and they couldn't figure out how to match the inventory right. And so then the people would refund. So he would buy all this inventory, then they would refund. And then the worst thing that happened, that alone caused a 30% drop in his business. Then the next thing that happened, because it was such a good seller, and it was a bestseller, then he started getting duplicated by China. And they started copying him and copying his sales pages and everything on every social media platform. And then they could get it like that, and then they would ship. And so that started eating into his reviews. So as you can see, just this one little thing, not being able to keep track overnight on the weekend of his inventory and the gap that was falling apart there, it was a snowball effect. And he then spent about 3 out of 5 days a week just shutting down all the copycatters because it was eating up all of his inventory and it was destroying his reputation. And I'm like, we had to fix all of these, right? Because he's a solo designer. He's like an Einstein, but he did know how to run the business. He knew how to create amazing business products, but he didn't know how to run it. And so now he likes to say, I am deep in AI. I'm all in, because he saw the difference of putting the agentic teams in place and not having to do it all himself, because he had a 24/7 business, and we all do, right? People are going to buy from us all the time. Which one of us hasn't been up at 2 a.m. and just, scrolling, and then you buy something, okay? But it didn't work, or it wasn't the right size, or whatever, right? Missed opportunity. This is why this is so important. It's not just about use AI because AI is out there. It is about fill the gaps in your business, because this is what people are missing and they don't see it. Now, if you want a full assessment of your business, yes, I want you to take the quiz. But if you want a full-blown assessment like the gentleman with the Amazon business, and you want to see where is everything that I need to do, how can I fill these spots, where do I need AI, where do I not need AI, and what haven't I even thought of, right? Because a lot of people don't even know their goals. We talked about this in the beginning. If you don't know what your goals are, you can't set up AI in any team. It's not going to work. It's going to be a babysitting job. And so we can help you figure out what is the goal, what is a possible goal, what are the benchmarks that you could go for. And when you start to have all these numbers right, and you know what you're targeting, then you can grow your business. What we're going to do next week, we are actually going to go over these numbers, because one of the most embarrassing things for a business owner is that when they come in and talk to us and we ask about some of the numbers, a lot of acronyms, and they're like, oh, I don't know what's COGS, right? What's OPEX? I don't know. What's CAC? Business owners don't know their numbers. They know their widget. They're in love with their widget, whatever it is that they do or created, but they don't know their numbers. So next week, we're going to show you exactly what these numbers are. We're going to make it like unscary. We're going to teach it to you, the Wall Street numbers for a Sesame Street level, so you will totally understand it. And then once you understand the numbers, it's not so scary. You will actually look at your numbers and start being able to fix them, right? You can do it with our help or on your own, but this has been one of the key things that has been really frustrating for owners, is they just don't know what their numbers are, what they should be, and even what they mean and how they relate, right? When I ask people their profit margins, they're like, I don't know, what should it be? So there's a lot of misconceptions out there. We're going to clear that up for you next week. So come back, go ahead and subscribe, and you're going to love it. So you need to hire the night auditor, okay? You also have to stop being the night auditor, okay? So for your night shift, is it unstaffed or is it you? That's the big question. Who's doing the work? Is it you trying to fill in all the gaps? Because it will not last and you will get burnt out. This is the overwhelm that most people are feeling. So here's the steps that I'm going to have you do, right? You can pick whichever one you want to do. My recommendation is take the quiz. It's going to take you 2 minutes, and then you will get a full report of exactly the leaks that you have in your business, right? That's step one. You have to see what's missing, what's broken, and then you can get a strategy plan. You'll get the full report right there. Doesn't cost you anything. And then you can get a strategy. Okay, now that I know these are where the leaks are, then you want to say, how do I fix them? Okay, because knowing a leak is one thing, knowing the source of the leak is the critical thing. And so we will do a call with you. It only takes 10 minutes. We'll look at your quiz results and give you the next things that you need to do and the biggest thing that's holding you back in your business. So hopefully that sounds fun. You can stop the revenue leaks that are in your business. And all you have to do is go to this link up here and Iconic Business Advisors /leaks. Okay. And that's plural because everybody has more than one leak. Okay. So /leaks, and stop the leaks, stop working the night shift yourself, and actually bring in a real intelligent team that can do that for you. And you can cut down 2/3 of the work that you are spending on your business. So what I want you to think about now is, what is the shift that's missing, right? Not only just the shift of who do you staff, but there's a shift that you have to make in your business. And this is the time to make it. You can't keep going on the road you're on. You can't keep driving straight when the road has done, a sharp turn. You're going to go off a cliff. And so I really implore you, just book a 10-minute call. We'll help you out, or take the quiz. And the quiz will give you so many answers. And then we can also point you to resources that will help you with a strategy to fix all your leaks. So remember, we're here for Freedom for Founders. We want you to be able to own your business, not be a slave to your business. So we'll see you next Tuesday at 2 p.m. And until then, be iconic.